All right, ladies and gentlemen, MrSotko here. Welcome back to the channel. Got a whole bunch of good crypto news stuff for you today. And the first thing that I want to read is a couple days old, but it does talk about the reasoning for the Bitcoin pump that we've seen a few days back from 4,200 or 4,100 to $5,000, and what is now cautiously, optimistically stable. And although I am seeing a dump in the future of that proportionality, but maybe not. We'll have to see. So the original crypto soared 20%, and I think it actually was ended up more than that. Again, the article is a couple days old, and it surged to near 20,000 in late 2017. And today's gain was probably triggered by an order worth about $100 million spread across US-based exchanges, Coinbase and Kraken, and Luxembourg's Bitstamp. So there's been a single order that has been algorithmically managed across these three venues of around 20,000 Bitcoin. So it did take about an hour. If you look at the volumes on each of the three exchanges, there were in concert synchronized units of volume around 7,000 BTC in an hour on each one. So that split between the three exchanges, just about 20,000. So it's around 7,000 each. And that pumped the price of Bitcoin up $700 plus. And then a lot of other people probably FOMO'd in and brought it to the 5,000, 5,100 range that we saw a little bit. So they couldn't point to any specific developments that explain the mystery buyer's big order. Crypto markets had, until today, seen a period of relative calm through the year, trading around 3,300 and 4,200, and never really getting much above 4,200. And that was sort of the tipping point for this little mini bull run, is to get over 4,200 without it dumping. And now it's sort of, well, we need to get over 5,000 without it dumping. And it's always that psychological $1,000 barrier every time. So that's sort of the reasoning behind at least the first $600 or $700 pump that brought it up to like 49, 5,000. And now it's probably resting a little bit more because of people FOMOing in and just spending their little bits, and every little bit counts sort of thing. So that's sort of the catalyst of the Bitcoin pump recently. Another article, Bitcoin set to be the world's main payment system in 10 years, new research says. And this is actually kind of interesting. So Visa appeared on the market in 1958, followed by MasterCard in 1966, and PayPal launched in 1998. Has already established itself as a competitor to the industry veterans, while Bitcoin's progress is even more rapid. So surprising statistics here. Datalight's buoyancy advocacy of Bitcoin stems from analysis of its current network activity, despite lagging behind fiat-based players significant in certain areas, such as capacity. Bitcoin excels elsewhere, for example, in average transaction value. So, of course, Bitcoin cannot keep up with PayPal. It cannot keep up with Visa and MasterCard. Not yet. I don't even think Lightning Network would be able to keep it up even remotely with Visa or MasterCard. But is it really necessary right now? That's the question. And even if it could keep up with Visa or MasterCard, the transactions really wouldn't matter anyway, because it's not being used half as much as Visa or MasterCard again. So for 2018, this was $41,000 average transaction, compared to $90 for Visa, $80 for MasterCard, and $58 for PayPal. So we can see that total payments and transactions trillions, just 3.4, Visa's 11.2, MasterCard 5.9, PayPal 578. So PayPal actually dominates in terms of transactions, but the average transaction volume, Bitcoin absolutely destroys at $41,000, while the other ones are just paltry little purchases of day-to-day business. But whereas Bitcoin is moving massive amounts of volume of money, every time a transaction occurs. And then transaction capitalization volume for 2018, 50.75, 35, 30, and just 5.78 for PayPal. So Bitcoin is moving along quite fast, actually. The average transaction volume just blows all the rest of them out of the water. Although that kind of makes sense, because how often do you make a $40,000 purchase with your Visa card? Probably not too often. But it does go to show that it is really good for moving large amounts of payments, and many other cryptocurrencies as well. So another article here that's really good for Bitcoin is Bitcoin is ranking high on Google Trends again. So during the height of the bull market, Bitcoin was ranking super high on Google Trends. It's just what is Bitcoin? Just typing in Bitcoin question mark, how to buy Bitcoin question mark, that sort of thing. That gives a huge indication of how many people are interested in Bitcoin. And with these top trends of what is Bitcoin on Google going on right now, that means there's a lot of new people coming in because, of course, old crypto veterans wouldn't be typing in what is Bitcoin unless you just wanted to see what Google had to say about it. But either way, Bitcoin in the top 10 on Google Trends and just exploding because of the bull market. And again, it just takes a bull market for this to happen. People just genuinely aren't too interested in crypto unless the price is super high. And I can attest to that. I think everybody can attest to that in crypto. A lot of people bailed when it dipped from 20,000 and might not return, or they might FOMO in when it goes back up in price again. There's probably a lot of locked up liquidity and volume of people who refused to sell when they bought it at $17,000 and it dipped to $3,000, and they're just like, well, I'll just wait a couple of years till it goes back up in price, and that's when a lot of it will be unlocked and start trading again. So we really need to get back up into that region again for people to really come back in and for it to really explode yet again, and I'll probably go back over 20,000. Although I suspect once it gets to 20,000 again, it's a matter of when, in my opinion. I think there's going to be a lot of volatility around that time because it's going to get to 20,000 and everybody's going to start selling off because, well, what if it got to 20,000 again and dipped back to 3,000? That's sort of a what-if scenario that's probably in many people's heads once that time comes. So it's definitely going to get dipped back to 19,000 probably numerous times, and then once it finally breaks over 20,000 and everybody realizes that this is going to stick, then yeah. So breaking the numbers down a little further, you'll see that Nigeria and South Africa are leading the charge, and kind of makes sense. Also, high is that in Netherlands and Australia. So number one is Nigeria, number two, South Africa, typing in any kind of Bitcoin-related searches. Netherlands, Australia, and the U.S. is ranking 12th, interestingly enough. And so that's really good for Bitcoin because we haven't seen, whenever we see huge amounts of Bitcoin searches in Google, is honestly when Bitcoin bull runs come around or just before it, because people are kind of interested in the price of it going up $700-800 in one moment, and they think, whoa, I could make $700 or $800 in one moment. Let me check out what this Bitcoin is. And that's new people. Hopefully, if you are new and you're watching this video, go back and watch some of my older videos, or go back and watch a lot of other YouTubers on how to properly store, how to properly buy Bitcoin, because it is quite a new market. If you are new into crypto and you're just coming in, it's quite confusing for somebody new, but once you get used to it, it's just fine. It's very intuitive, but it is different. And my son screaming in the background. So who knows if I'll be able to make it through the article or not. I don't know. We're gonna give it a try though. So Bitcoin is surging, but hacked crypto exchange Cryptopia's users remain seething. So they have not been paid back yet. So a lot of people on Cryptopia are missing out, that had funds on Cryptopia, are missing out on this bull run, and that is terrible. So despite having promised to compensate customers who lost crypto assets following a security breach, Cryptopia has yet to provide concrete details on that process in the middle of a nice little, somewhat bull run. Let's call it a bull run. And that's quite unfortunate for those who had a lot of lost funds or locked up funds, even if you didn't lose any funds, if you didn't have any ERC20 tokens, because I believe it was mostly just ERC20 tokens, like your Tether, your Bitcoin, etc. is fine, Litecoin, but it was mostly like your ERC20 wallets. If I'm not mistaken, a lot of information has not come out about this yet. But all the tokens that they said were indeed stolen, all were ERC20 or Ethereum tokens, coins. So Cryptopia, on March 17th, Cryptopia announced that it was taking steps to compensate users, and more details around the rebates by the end of March. So, of course, they're just going to be rebates. Again, it's probably going to be some Cryptopia coin where you're going to be able to trade it for other coins on the exchange. The only problem with that is that that coin is useless. And so if I come on the exchange and sell you my Bitcoin for your Cryptopia token, I might be able to exchange it for something else, which is kind of nice, the fungibility factor. But overall, the coin is absolutely useless. So that's probably what's going to happen. Hopefully it's something a little bit better than that, and they actually just give you the crypto back, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case, and it's going to be like the usual hacked crypto exchange where they're like, well, we just made our own token and we'll give you the token equivalent to what you were stolen. And the problem is that's great, so you can get your crypto back, but essentially you're selling somebody garbage to get your crypto back. So essentially after that, you're stealing crypto from somebody else by giving them a useless product and you getting your crypto back, which is all good, but the person who bought your coin willingly, unfortunately is kind of getting screwed. So no winners in that one. Definitely a zero-sum game in that sort of situation. So moving on here, CME futures are skyrocketing 950%. So CME futures are paper-traded futures. There is no Bitcoin. There is no held Bitcoin. It's not buying Bitcoin to provide Bitcoin to essentially the winners of the futures game, which is essentially a game. Let me just mind you, futures and margin trading, etc., like that, is essentially a game. It's just a bet at that point. Just toss a coin. Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Then you won, right? If you got heads, you won, right? If you got tails, everything's liquidated. You lose. So that's futures in a nutshell. It's hardly that's hardly an over-exaggeration or anything with futures, but this does mean that there is a lot of more institutional-minded individuals coming into Bitcoin. 950% is quite high, even though honestly CME futures didn't quite have that high of volume in the first place. In fact, CBOE just straight up gave up because CME was destroying them, not by much, considering CBOE didn't have much either. But still good news in the sense that it's providing more of an option for people and sort of sparking interest, if you will. So leading derivatives marketplace CME is a massive increase in the number of Bitcoin futures contracts. So you can see that they're less than, this line is 10,000, so that's maybe 5,000 right here, contracts, and then March that looks like maybe 1,000, 2,000 at best, and by April 4th now, with the price exploding, we have 22,542, so that's a lot of institutionally minded investors who don't really want to go through exchanges or anything like that. Why? I don't know. Considering that CME futures is probably like the Wolf of Wall Street, where they're calling people and being like, hey, would you be interested in a Bitcoin futures contract? The price has gone up by 40%, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that's exactly what it's like, and their traders are really eager to get some investors, so they're calling around rich people, and they're just like, oh, yes, take $70,000 of my money. I don't need it. It's just laying on the ground anyway. Yes, invest it, right? So these are the kind of people. But at the same time, it gets Bitcoin out there and the name of it out there. And maybe one day somebody will be like, hey, why am I trading these paper futures when I could own my Bitcoin? I don't know. That's my rich. Do you guys like that? That's my rich voice. That's my pompous. So they're not a significant part of the market. However, they're still an important part of the market. I would disagree, as it's just paper trading and it doesn't really truly affect the price of Bitcoin. Although I would disagree with myself on there, because literally the day that CBOE CME futures started on December 18th was the day that Bitcoin essentially crashed from its all-time high. Although you could argue that was probably for a number of reasons, because, well, it was quite hyperbolic at that point and just going basically straight up. It was going to come down at some point, and when it came down very, very hard, because the tighter that group is, the more of a 90-degree angle the growth is, the more of a 90-degree angle the degrowth is, the decrease is, and that's just usually the case. That's why I kind of worry sometimes here about CoinMarketCap in the price of Bitcoin, in the sense that we had this incredible explosion here. We'll go back 7 days here. It's not quite, and this line here is going to reduce essentially by that same line at some point, and that's not always the case, but that's been the case a lot throughout history. You can just go back through the chart. Don't believe me, just look through the chart. Whenever you see this line 90 degrees, 3 days later, 7 days later, it goes down by that same amount, just because somebody was making a Bart Simpson and then they decided to short it or long it based on what they thought was going on there. So hopefully people are just longing instead of shorting anymore, and then they're going to make a Bart Simpson and then they're going to long it again, which would make them quite a bit of money, just as much as really shorting it essentially. So hopefully this just keeps on piling up. We're at 175 billion market cap. It was no more than a couple weeks ago. I was talking about 130 billion dollar market cap. It was no more than a couple months ago that I was making Star Trek alarm videos where it was going to dip under 100 billion dollar market cap, which I don't think it did, or maybe it did briefly, but it really didn't breach it too hard if it did. And now we're at 175 billion. So we've gained essentially 75 billion from those videos a few months back of me talking about how we're in danger of going under $100 billion market cap. And look at us now. Look at me now, Mom. No hands on my bicycle. I'm at $175 billion market cap. I ate my Wheaties this morning. However, XRP kind of getting screwed. Only 36 cents. So XRP has gone up maybe like 8 cents, 6 cents since this little bull run here. So not performing particularly well. I'm surprised it still has its position here. But of course, they're so much more ahead of Litecoin at this moment that it doesn't really matter. Now, Bitcoin Cash went through a huge pump. I would suspect that's probably also a little bit of that Jihan Wu and Roger Ver going, oh, there's a pump. Let's extra pump it. And then everybody will think we're the real Bitcoin again. No, it doesn't matter how hard you pump Bitcoin Cash. You're still not the real Bitcoin. But everything is looking pretty good. But again, just if you're trading, cautiously optimistic, cautiously trade at the moment, because this could result in a $600-700 dip whenever whoever bought that $100 million of Bitcoin decides to sell off, which wouldn't be too bad of a time at 5,300. That would be an incredible profit for whoever did that. And that could be a good time, because right now it's probably not a good time. The profit probably isn't too great. Maybe the Bitcoin went up $100 or maybe $200 since they bought in. With $100 million Bitcoin, that's still no joke. For 20,000 Bitcoin, that's still quite a bit of money, mind you. But it would be better for them a couple hundred more, I would suspect. But that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video. That helps me out a lot. My social media is in the description below. Follow me on those if you get the opportunity. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. And as usual, I will see you guys next time.